The club was loud, bodies moving like shadows in the flashing neon lights, but James only saw her. She was stunning. Black dress, glowing skin, a sly smile that promised something dangerous. They locked eyes, and it wasn't long before they were stumbling into her apartment, hands all over each other, lips desperate. James wasn't thinking. Not about where they were, not about how the night seemed to blur in a way that didn't feel entirely natural. He was only thinking about her. And then finally it was over. His body was still trembling, his breath slowing. He lay back, staring at the ceiling. Then that familiar wave of clarity started to settle in. That's when he noticed it. The air in the room felt wrong, colder, heavier. The dim orange glow of her bedside lamp flickered, revealing changes. The sleek modern apartment was different now, aged, rotten. The walls were cracked, peeling, covered in what looked like claw marks. The mirror on the opposite wall was shattered. And then James noticed something worse. There was someone sitting in the corner of the room. A chair he hadn't noticed before, a shadowed figure. James's stomach dropped. He blinked rapidly, his breath coming in sharp gasps. His mind screamed at him not to look. Don't look. But his eyes were already adjusting to the darkness. And then he saw it. Himself. Sitting there. In the chair. The same body. The same face. But his eyes. They weren't eyes at all. Just black, empty voids like two deep pits stretching into nothingness. And he was smiling. James felt paralyzed, his body ice cold with terror. His other self didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. And then the girl. The girl grabbed his arm, nails digging deep. He hadn't even realized she was awake. Her voice was a frantic whisper.
Do not look at him.
James barely managed to tear his eyes away, locking onto her instead. And that's when he saw her face. No longer soft, no longer beautiful. Her skin had thinned, stretched too tightly over her skull. Her eyes, now sunken and ringed with dark hollows, flickered with something inhuman. Her lips trembled as she whispered again.
Do not look at him. He will swap with you.
James's pulse thundered in his ears. He was shaking, his breath ragged. But, he stammered. She gripped him tighter.
Close your eyes, now.
James squeezed his eyes shut, his body rigid with fear. And then, the bed shifted. The air felt like it rippled. A slow creaking sound filled the room. The sound of someone standing up from a chair. Someone moving toward the bed. James clenched his fists, nails digging into his palms. He wanted to run, to fight, to scream. But all he could do was listen. A deep, breathy chuckle right next to his ear. Then a voice, his own voice.
Too late.
The world flipped. James gasped. His eyes shot open. Now he was sitting upright. His body, his real body, was still in the bed. The girl was curled up beside him, not looking at him anymore. Because now, James was the one in the chair, watching, waiting, smiling.